I mean, sort of a case study presentation, really, something I was involved with. Liam, who's one of our many audience members, was also involved with, and he'll be appearing on the slides as we go through. But so my background, people don't know me, I'm currently an Associate Dean at Staffordshire University, focusing on digital, various things to do with that. It's quite an unusual set of courses I'm involved with. But my background very much computing, computer science, technical, geeky programming. But really what I've done in recent years is much softer kind of skills to go with that. And I'm actually speaking really about work at Birmingham City University. So there's a bit of time since I was involved with this, but I've been following what's been going on since as well there. I'm also involved with lots of little projects with social media, particularly people who know me might know me from my work, plagiarism, contract cheating, and people who pay to get their work done for them. But particularly interested in employability, and of course do tweet and do comment on the Periscope feed, #SocMedHE16 and at Dr. Lancaster. It's been a very active feed all day, so I don't need to push that. So really what I've been interested in is setting up a community online, particularly focused towards the group of computer science students I had at the time, and computing students in general. But the whole idea is very easily applicable because it's not a technical talk, even though there are some technical students in there. But particularly why I was doing that, what I learned from the process, and how we use the social media to get involved in a wider set of external events as well. Particularly this hackathons, which are programming activities that students can get involved in there. So this is how I learned to program way back in the mid-1980s on the Commodore 16+4, and really you got these kind of books with your computer, and pretty much all you could do was type in the code and see what it did, or you could load games from cassette tapes. And there wasn't much of another option about what you did with that. And there are, I think, a lot of people now involved in teaching who still think that's what programming is, because that's how they learned. Of course, the way that students learned has changed quite substantially. And now, when people go into computing jobs, they're not all programmers, there's other things they can do, but programming is really a core skill that's involved with that as well. And likewise, I don't think the way people are taught programming has changed that much in general. When I first started teaching in 2000, alongside my PhD, then that was my supervisor's book, Finton Colwyn, a very traditional book about how to teach programming. A very modern one, as it said on the side, includes UML for anyone technical in the room. This is one of my exam questions about 2007, paying homage to my friend William Campbell, who used to have a cat called McFluffy. Hello William, you're watching there. He used to appear in all the lectures, which particularly infuriated William because he didn't like cats, but there you go. But again, a bit of a disconnect, I think, between what people are doing in programming. They're not just answering questions about it. And this really is a typical set of learning outcomes for computer science programming modules. This is one used this past year in the university I was at the time of doing this work. And it's very traditional, it's describe a lot of things, it's not very practical, it's not know much to go with it. And we have this problem now that the skills that industry want are very advanced, and they require leveling and leveling of all these different technologies combined with one another to get anywhere. And this is a recent LinkedIn survey. They mined all the data in the first part of the year from LinkedIn about jobs that were being asked for, not just IT jobs, and the kind of things that are appearing there. Lots of mathsy type jobs there. This one really about web programming essentially is where a lot of the money is now, because people are programming for the web. It's an area not really covered in any depth in computing courses, mobile, even things like presenting data, and marketing, incidentally, which is part of my role now in terms of recruiting students, has really started to drop down the list. It's interesting thinking of this from our point of view of people interested in social media. There's a massive part of social media involved in marketing, and that now is, I think there's an assumption people can just do it and they know how to self-market and present themselves online. But these are the kind of typical skills that aren't always being seen. And we have some both very good and very bad students in terms of their programming ability coming in. Very diverse. Liam Sauter, who's sat somewhere in the room, They're actually photographed at Hackathon he was helping out with. And we get people who arrive now, they've been programming since they were probably before the age of 10, and they arrive with skills in advance of people who are teaching them. But at the same time, there's a big disconnect between the people who've never programmed before. And because you don't go into a computing degree necessarily with the same grounding, you don't have to have done a computing A-level in the same way you might go into certain degrees, or you might go into a maths degree after the maths A-level, or you wouldn't go into a history degree without having done history A-levels, probably. So there's quite a wide base of people to support. So it makes it difficult. I just did a bit of searching around for Liam recently, kind of things he's involved with, many more of them, but he's very visible on social media, on Twitter. That's where his name's from. That's only for the programmers, so I won't read that one out. I haven't got many programmers in here. His LinkedIn work. He's currently working as a placement student at Birmingham City. His blog there, talking about Hackathon, is involved with his website. What have we got? His Death Post account. This is where you get the more techie types, social accounts that are worth looking at. He's also got a GitHub and various others for people who know what those terms mean as well. And you're expected now to become a programmer to be have your presence on all these sites, traditional professional online presence type stuff. You're also expected to know how to use social sites in the course of your work. For instance, in version control, if you're developing software, to find information, etc. as well, to communicate, to use the social tools as well. So without going into a great deal of detail, there is a lot of social communities there. So when I started thinking about a community for computing students online, it was really to solve the issues. A lot of it was about the issues about things that couldn't easily be covered in the course, but were important for the students who wanted to go into that type of career. It was to help the students who wanted to do more, to provide additional opportunities for high-performing students, which is often an area we forget, but at the same time, to try and develop some synergy between the high-performing students to also support the people who hadn't come in with the programming background, but were on a computer science degree because they wanted to improve and because they wanted to go in that kind of career. And it's a steep learning curve to get into that type of career nowadays, to do that. Try and bring in new technology, try and bring in employers. So all those technologies I mentioned on the LinkedIn slide, which are now emerging, that a few years ago weren't known about, and so universities don't always have those technologies at hand. They don't fit within the budgets there to help people to get those kind of rounded ideas. And to just increase that involvement with social media. And of course, at the end of this was things to do with student satisfaction, to provide the additional opportunities, think about the NSS as well in there too. All quite important areas for that. To think about what to do to help the students, provide opportunities. And social media is really only one part of a slightly larger puzzle that we put together. So, alongside this, I mentioned at the start hackathons. So, a hackathon is typically a 24-hour continuous programming competition. So, a student forms a team, or it could be a member of the public forms a team. They do some programming for 24 hours, working around a theme. They present what they've done at the end, so they get presentation skills as well. And then the sponsors award prizes to the people who've impressed them. And these are great for students for employability because they let them demonstrate what they've done, they let them make contact with employers as well as part of the sponsorship. They bring in the new technologies for that, and they're great for confidence as well. And that's a hackathon we held in-house, where we've got sponsorship for and brought in some interesting things there in the winning team there. There are people may have seen similar things in other disciplines, so non-computing people. Entrepreneurial business startup weekends now are really common, where people validate their business over a weekend and they conduct focus groups and find out what people want and see if there's a market for it. There's even things like write and perform a musical in 24 hours, create a feature film in 24 hours I've seen people involved with recently. So there's lots of related areas that we can apply these same techniques to. So it's not just computing. And there's now a big league where students can compete called Major League Hacking. Hacking means programming. It doesn't mean the hacking into computers and stealing passwords, which is a bit difficult with the terms. And at the right, some very big Facebook groups, mainly made up of student programmers. So there's Hackathon Hackers, international one, 44,000 members, and then the EU version, over 5,000 members. And they get quite active as well with people sharing things. So the idea is to sort of replicate this on a more local level. And if you're interested particularly in hackathons, incidentally, there's a whole other presentation about those. It's linked on the slide, and a video version of it that you can watch that Liam and I did a few months ago. But I managed to tap into a few different sources of money, because unfortunately time and money isn't always free and available, as you might think. So using my placement student I had at the time to support some of this work. It's not the sole part of his role, but it was a good experience for him. To get some funding from the internal process for mentors. So Liam was one of several mentors to help other students to develop their skills, and he put on various things, including in-person training, online training, to help people to upskill. Funding to get students to hackathons, although actually there's all kinds of external funding to help with that. So we didn't tap into anywhere near as much of that as we thought we might need to. And also funding to run 2 hackathons internally. So we've got various sponsors as well, and a little bit of internal funding to push that together. So it's really bringing together this complete approach and involving students in all of these activities. So we formed the Student Society there. Officially it was part of the Student Union, designed to bring speakers in, to run events, to run additional training. There were some teething problems with working out how to sort of address some of the concerns I mentioned earlier on, particularly things to do with student satisfaction, make it inclusive, but also to let students develop this the way they wanted. We sort of lined that out as time went on there as well. A big thing I did notice as somebody now with a big interest in marketing is that you do really have to keep pushing out the idea there is this event going on several times. You can't just assume people will come without advertising it. And I think some of the students and people involved with this thought that because they were interested, everyone would just turn up. So if you brought a speaker in, and so it took a bit of time to get that message across. You have to keep broadcasting things through multiple channels, and you need staff on side as well to promote that as well. And there was a bit of a quest for personal power from somebody involved with that, which is an entirely different story that we will save in case. But Oliver, if you're watching, then hopefully it's going okay now. It's the right. So we set up various sites, or what the students did. The logo's changed a bit. This is what it looks like now. The name changed a bit during this time as well, but eventually it came to what I think worked out pretty good, Hackathon and Computing, because bringing in the people involved with the competitions and bringing in the computing side. But I can tell you, nearly everything ends up on Facebook, because that's what being a student-run society with my input. It's still a little bit of my input, even though I'm not working there, just because I'm interested in the students and there's still people I support. Then they very much gravitated towards Facebook. It was interesting because I automatically gravitate towards Twitter. And I think we may have heard that, depending on what talks you've been to today, that same discussion going on earlier. It did mean when we put on things like external events, like the hackathons, and wanted to promote them, Twitter was used a lot more to promote those, to sort of help the sponsors know that we were interested in them as well, as we were. So some very positive behaviours observed by putting these things up. And I think the most important one for me is it didn't mean me doing all the work to get discussions going. It very much meant students doing this. Some of them the ones who had a bit of money towards the mentorship, but that money has now stopped. The things are still going on. But some of them also the people who are just interested because they think this is how a university works and what they do, which is a very positive thing for the people who arrived in September who joined the first year, because they think they probably expected this to have been running for a long time in this format. But particularly things like events, opportunities, resources, very interesting discussions about technology, some of the technical stuff that goes very well. This word empowerment keeps appearing as this conference theme, but empowerment is very much a part of this, getting students to think about their lifelong learning and how they're going to take that forward. We've got quite a good community of people attending hackathons, which will come up later on outside the university, in fact all around the world, as it happened. The little bit of fun is there, and some good collaborations, some stuff I did with the students for competitions that came through that route, and also other staff who got involved in seeing this. So I think a few examples. This is all a public group, if you want to go back and trawl through. But the kind of things we're seeing, Raf there, who's also got a job, who's trying to find other students to work and join the company, which is always great for getting students to help others to get jobs. Liam, who's sat somewhere just there, who is sharing things to help you get through interviews, to get for jobs. And there's lots of those things around. There's so many now online interviews, phone interviews, very technical interviews that programmers go through, which again I don't think are necessarily that well covered inside the course, even if it's a general interview skills section, when you go through specific companies and how they work. So the good ownership of employability. Students like free stuff. There's loads of examples like this in there. So there's just a few of them. Free software is popular with students. Lots of free textbooks, things like that get shared. Free online courses for learning new languages. Free t-shirts at all these hackathons. Pandelis there who's collected, there seems to be hackathons every week, has collected a wardrobe for a year, I think, just from attending. They like to give these away with sponsor logos, but it looked quite good. I got some funding to go to visits to startup companies and things like that I shared with the group, and we got a nice trip out to Tech City in London, in Silicon Roundabout area, and a tour. People like Liam got involved as the mentors, and then Ashley, who was a different placement student last year, putting on courses online and seeing what people wanted to learn. So I think particularly looking to expand on to games programming, so people on a computing course wanted to add that additional skill to their bow, and running surveys, getting people involved. Whole international side of things completely surprised me, with people finding hackathons to attend in the UK is no surprise, but the hackathons outside the UK. So Alex, and I mean essentially the team that won BCU Hack, with Alex added onto that, we all went over to Macedonia to take part in a competition. They ended up, I think they paid their own flight, but they did it very cheaply because it's a cheap country to visit, and they got a lot of things sponsored when they got there. And won a prize, which looked great on their CV from doing that one. I know some people have been to Canada recently, and that one, being a big Canadian hackathon, they did find some money to pay for flights, which was quite good. There's quite a lot of sponsorship goes into these events from big companies, which is a thing, again, that surprised me a bit. But for them, for the companies, they are finding people they could employ, and they're finding new ideas. So they are getting something quite valuable out of that as well. We put a team forward again to take the hackathon idea to a competition, a GIST competition there. And although we didn't quite get through the elevator, then that was a good experience going through that. Finding out how to pitch as well, and the entrepreneurial side to that, developing e-learning software, and occasionally these fun things. I know Liam finds these things really funny, where somebody texts him saying, I have a great idea for an app, and if you're a programmer, you know those kind of messages and comments never end well. It's like for me, when I get students, it's normally fashion students saying, somebody said it'd be a very good idea if I get an app created to display my fashion and everything I've created, and could somebody quickly whiz this up for me overnight type of thing. And they don't realise there's actually quite a lot of work, probably several weeks of work involved in getting these things together. So it's that disconnect between what people do, and I'm sure we have the same in other disciplines. We don't realise quite how much work is involved. And Pokemon were all over the place at one point. They're probably back again. They even arrived in a presentation I gave for my current job. So they were very popular at one point of view. And This is my friend Jack, I will call him there, who was going to a hackathon and very happy to pose with all his many trolleys and things he would take with him, even though the catering is free. They normally find you somewhere to sleep, etc. at these events, and it's just to carry his fridge and his kettle. Jack, I know you'll be watching, so there you are. You are a meme, as you said. I think it was probably my meme, but I didn't let him put it up. So people do get quite involved and find these things quite amusing as well. So what have I learned, and has it been worth it? Well, yes, definitely worthwhile for the students. It's still ongoing now, being run in a slightly different way. I think one thing that people weren't so keen about in terms of students was the amount of marketing that had to go on, particularly when we ran the hackathons inside the university and got the money for it. And we had to keep pushing out messages to the sponsors, which is the thing they asked for, and showing this. But this was really, from my point of view, to try and set things up on a ready to run again next year. So the same sponsors will come back and work with us. And they certainly saw some good students and good ideas. They got the value for that. And they weren't necessarily that keen on tweeting themselves. That's what we keep saying about Facebook, really dominating what a lot of students want to do. And it may vary from discipline to discipline, but certainly in computing, I've observed Facebook is the preferred one, but the Twitter stuff can go a lot more viral and be a lot more public there. We brought in student photographers to try and push things, and a great artist who did some work during the events as well to share on social media. But again, people maybe sort of took some of the fun away by having that side of things attached to it. And it's just trying to strike a balance there as well. But I mean, it does tell me that when we develop the next generation of computing courses, we have to push that kind of marketing thing ingrained within it, particularly looking back at what LinkedIn was saying. The jobs focused just on marketing are going, but it seems to be becoming more a part and parcel of everyone's job, and everyone uses social media. So we did get some very positive tweets out saying how happy people were. I mean, there's a few hundred tweets from that event, including from various companies. Codio, who followed me to other institutions, still working with me, still working with BCU as well there, and various other people. Daniel was one of the winners, but Hacker Earth, who helped to sponsor it, all the nice stickers and things we got together. So where are we at now? Well, the site is still operating. It's a bit more disconnected, unfortunately, from the staff, but the set of students who are involved are enjoying it. I'm not there to keep pushing it quite the same, but I think it's going quite well, and they're still doing a lot of hackathons and events, and they're finding it valuable. My only concern as an outsider now is that it's not providing the easy ways for new people to join it, which is the lifeblood of society going forward. And I think I may look back at that. I think I needed to see more staff involved with that before I left, but this is the way things go. It's quite hard to do that. But definitely positive activity, definitely empowering learning as well. And we did have a very positive result for that. We got the university up to the ranking 5th in the EU Major League Hacking League, which from being unranked after about 500 teams before to 5th that year was doing pretty well. And I think the institution was very happy with the publicity and saying it was outranking quite a lot of well-known universities. I won't name at the moment, but we're on that list of competitors alongside that. And of course, brilliant for all the students involved, because you can't get much better things than competition results, building a portfolio from doing those activities for when they go into, I'm sure, will be very good jobs at the end of it, and some already have. So, from me, very positive point of view. I've put the slides up, by the way, if you do want to see them. There's at slideshare.net/Thomas Lancaster there, and I just believe you were looking at AJ, who was actually working with me on this, but seemed to like to look done and pretend to be a student in all the photos. But it's definitely something I think these communities really work there. It's sort of letting them take their own identity, but just to give them that direction when it's needed.